The meeting will please come to order. Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, July the 3rd. I am Trippy Congo, President of Wilmington City Council, and we just want to thank all of you for joining us this evening, everyone who was in here with us in chambers, and also everyone who was with us virtually. For anyone who would like to sign up for public comment, if you haven't yet, you still have time to do so until 6:45. There is a Google Form sign-up link if you are virtual, and public comment will take place after non-legislative business. We're going to begin with an opening prayer by Marielena Rivera.
Heavenly Father, we have assembled to handle the affairs of our city. As we do so, we ask for your guidance and understanding. We pray that our city reaches a place of peace and safety. Keep us out of harm's way and bless those who are in authority. Let respect be key in all our endeavors. Padre Celestial, nos hemos reunido para manejar los asuntos de nuestra ciudad. Al hacerlo, le pedimos su orientación y comprensión. Oramos para que nuestra ciudad alcance un lugar de paz y seguridad, que nos mantenga fuera del peligro y bendecir a los que están en la autoridad. Que el respeto sea clave en todos nuestros esfuerzos. Amén.
Amen.
Amen.
And now we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the clerk will please call the roll.
Councilman Owens,
Present.
Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Oliver,
Present.
Councilwoman Harley,
Present.
Councilwoman Willauer,
Present.
Councilwoman McCoy,
here.
Councilman Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Field,
Present.
Councilwoman Bracy, Councilwoman Cabrera,
Present.
Councilman Hackett,
Here.
Councilman Spadola,
Present.
President Congo.
Here.
$11 present and 2 absent.
Thank you. And now we will have the reading of the minutes of our previous meeting.
June 18th, 2025, City Council met in regular session with remote participation on the above date at 6:40 p.m. President Ernest M. Congo II presiding. The opening prayer was done by...
Move the minutes be accepted and written.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The minutes be accepted as written. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. And now we will have our committee reports.
June 23rd, 2025, President and members of Council. Ladies and gentlemen, we, your Community Development and Urban Planning Committee, met by anchor location and remote participation, to who was referred ordinance number 25-025, entitled An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 11 of the City Code relating to religious exemptions from noise ordinances. Have given this
Mr.
ordinance
President,
careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members of the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee. Those members present: Councilwoman Cabrera, Councilwoman Darby, Councilman Fields, Councilman Hackett, Councilwoman McCoy, Councilman Owens, President Congo. Absent with leave, Councilwoman Willauer.
Mr. President, I move that the committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried.
June 23rd, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, we, your Community Development and Urban Planning Committee, met by anchor location and remote participation, to who was referred ordinance number 25-026, entitled An Ordinance to Amend Chapter 2 of the City Code to dissolve the Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank. Have given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members of the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee, those members present, Councilwoman Cabrera, Councilwoman Darby, Councilman Field, Councilman Hackett, Councilwoman McCoy, Councilman Owens, President Congo. Absent with leave, Councilwoman Willauer.
I move the committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second, the report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. At this time, we will have our city treasurer's report.
July 3rd, 2025, total investments, $512,499,949.52. Total cash on hand, $15,895,453.20. Grand total, $528,395,402.72. Submitted, City Treasurer Dwayne Sims.
I move the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second, the report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. I'll accept the motion to move to accept all non-legislative business.
So moved.
It's been properly moved and second to accept all non-legislative business. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. I don't believe we have any in-person recognitions of recognition resolutions today, but we do have some that need to be noted from Councilwoman Cabrera. She would like to recognize St. Paul's Church Gala. Councilwoman Harley, she would like to recognize Mother Bertha Lockhart Park on her 102nd birthday. Councilmember Oliver would like to recognize Davida Woolley, Esquire. Councilmember Owens would like to recognize the National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And then in the way of sympathy resolutions coming from Councilmember Field, a sympathy resolution for Latoya Warner from Councilmember Oliver, sympathy resolutions for Kishona Wilson and Angelia Marie Crate, and from Councilmember Spadola, a sympathy resolution for Miles Edward McGreevy. At this time, we will move to public comment. Again, we still have a few more minutes if anyone would like to still sign up. Just as a friendly reminder, please keep your comment to 3 minutes. Once you have about 30 seconds left, I will give you a friendly reminder. Please be mindful and try to refrain from using any profanity or vulgar remarks, as this meeting is being live streamed to the public. And also, please watch your step and remember to introduce yourself once you come up to the podium. First, we have Deacon Earl Tate. Also like to recognize Councilmember Bracy, who has joined us virtually.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Deacon Earl E. Tate, who's never late because he don't want to lose his pair of roller skates. and I like to say that we know that the holiday is upon us, and many of people out here on the road still driving like a bat out of hell, and we got to put a stop to it, because in the county and all, they have speed bumps. It's slowing them down, but in the city, we need some here. We need some here barely, because many of children, as well as adults, are getting hit, and many of them are dying, and we need them, and we need the speed bumps barely, because the children our future. And, and what is the future going to look like with their kids taking over? So we got to do something to keep them in. Now, also I like to say that the seniors who are homeowners need some help with their home. Need some help in keeping their homes so that they could have it to give to the next generation of kids. But how could they have it and keep it without a grant or so forth? Because we have lotteries here, but the lotteries never or we never know anything about it. But we need help, and we need it now. Because we don't want to be moving out and starting all over again. We want to stay where we are, living in comfort, living where we know which way to go. But now is the time when you should start doing something now. Start opening up programs, grants, and all for the senior as well as the young folks.
You have 30 seconds.
Because if you don't, hey, we're not going to have nothing else. But I like to say to all, have a nice and beautiful holiday weekend.
Thank you. Next, we have Joe Connor. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. My name is Joe Connor. I live in the 8th Councilmanic District. And by profession, I'm a real estate broker, and I've been doing that for about 38 years. And in the course of my being a real estate, I'm a former chair of the Delaware Real Estate Commission as well. In the course of my practice, I represent a number of financial institutions in the disposal of their surplus property, and been doing that for most of my career, probably close to 30 years at least anyway. And that has brought me into contact with a lot of members of my profession that have occasion to deal with the land bank. I also have a working familiarity with the land bank, and at this point, I'm just going to say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. I support the dissolution of the land bank. It needs to be dissolved and started over, and I support that being done. And here's the other part of my conversation. The Constitution of the United States of America gives us the right to petition our government for the redress of our grievances. When a government characterizes folks that come to a public meeting to do that one thing, that thing that they're guaranteed by the Constitution, then to characterize those people as a mob, that's an insult. Okay, that's not a behavior that should be tolerated. And then to publicly put out a press release that compares the citizens of the city of Wilmington to a crazed murderer in Minneapolis as a reason to repress free speech is also ridiculous. I would like to suggest that maybe, just maybe, rather than vilify the public, you might want to listen a little bit, just a little bit. You know, they've been talking to you. You know, we had a good conversation last month. It didn't go the way we wanted, but we're not giving up. We're going to continue to work on it. You know, we don't go away. We're going to keep working. But, you know, We're here, we're the public. You should listen to us just a little bit, you know. We're that's all I'm asking. Is that too much to ask? I didn't think so. Thank you.
Thank you.
It makes me feel good to have somebody close. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Adil Ismail. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Darby. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, honorable members of this council and respected community members. My name is Adil Ismail, and I come here representing North American Islamic Foundation, based here in our great state of Delaware. My late father, Ismail Hackett, may God have mercy on him, was the first man to publicly call the adhan, the Muslim call to prayer here in this city, and he did so using a bullhorn for over 15 years. I also had the honor of calling the prayer alongside him during that time. Honorable council members, as you consider your vote, I ask you to keep this in mind. The adhan is not just a tradition or a cultural practice. It is a religious obligation for Muslims to be performed aloud, except in cases where Muslims are oppressed or restricted from religious freedom. One of the great blessings of living in the United States is the constitutional protection of religious freedom, a freedom and right secured by the very founders of this great nation. The obligation of calling the adhan publicly in its proper times is a religious right protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you. Tish Coleman. Thank you for joining us.
My name is Tish. I'm a longtime resident of Wilmington, Delaware. And I'm calling, I'm here to express my feelings on the land bank. I believe that it should be dissolved. I believe that some of the processes is unattainable for our citizens. I believe there's too much red tape. You either got to know somebody who knows somebody, or you got to be a part of something that's a part of something. I have tried 2 separate times, and each time the amount of obstacles before I can even be approved deterred me in the middle of the process. I look at where the money is going from the land trust bank. We look at the fact that the bank's been open for 10 years and only housed 10 people. In the last year, it had $1 million, $1.5 million given. That's just 1 year. So where's the money for the last 10 years? That's just this year. I thought this program was presented to me by someone who worked in finance when she was taking care of a problem with my landlord had a water bill for $11,000, and I came home, my water was off. She presented it to me as an option when it really never was an option, because these programs are slated for certain people, and you almost have to be in the in crowd to even be considered for these programs. You got to know somebody that knows somebody that owes somebody that you know a favor. That's basically how these programs work. So I believe the best decision will be dissolve it, come up with a new process of how it could be available for the people in our city who cannot obtain houses in the conventional manner. That's how it was presented to me in the beginning, and I haven't seen that work for anyone. out of the 9 people, I might know one person who was approved. 9 people in 10 years, and y'all giving 1 million in 1 month? I mean, in 1 year? Sorry, 1 million in 1 year, and y'all only housed 9 people in 10 years? Yeah, dissolve it. Have a good day.
Thank you. Megan Wilson. Thank you for joining us.
Mr. Congo, before I start, I just want to say I have filed a formal federal grievance against Wilmington council members and Wilmington upper members, like the mayor and the governor. So that is in process right now. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
It's all about this right here, what I'm going to read.
Okay.
Good evening, President Congo, council members, as well as supporting members of the community. My name is Megan, and I'm here to expose systematic corruption within Wilmington and the Wilmington Land Bank that is actively segregating our community. The Wilmington Land Bank is not just failing our citizens, it is deliberately practicing housing segregation and gentrification based on race and other protected characteristics. The word segregation needs to be heard loud and clear. I see systematic discrimination in action. I witnessed firsthand of several qualified families of color and single mothers trying to purchase homes in predominantly white neighborhoods, despite them being prepared to purchase a home, despite decent members of society, qualified citizens of Wilmington, despite them being ready to buy, families continue to be denied the opportunity to reside in the neighborhoods they wanted to live in and raise their family. Instead, the land bank only showed them properties in unsafe neighborhoods, properties in areas they knew are known dangerous areas for children and families. This is not a coincidence. This is systematic segregation. This is a corruption and exploitation at its finest. The current land bank leadership is exposing legal loopholes for personal gain, overpricing refurbished homes that no normal working family just cannot afford, renovating properties that were built in the early 90s. They are listed at fair market value. By whom, may I ask, makes the decision for fair market value? Same inflated prices, all in areas. Even dilapidated homes in dangerous neighborhoods are bandaged up and sold at fair market value. Not only are council members hiding important documents, such as Council Member Cabrera, who deliberately withheld critical information from her colleagues,
You have 30
as
seconds.
well as the community, about the land bank's failure of financial corruption and mismanaged funds. Documents lost through poor management, yet she voted to give additional funds despite known failures. She actively was trying to silence members of the community when the lady brought forth the documents of the hidden corruption within the land bank. However, Cabrera was shut her up, counting the clock, basically. I'm going to skip all that, showing she had no interest in listening or protecting our community. I see complete waste in taxpayer money. Funds that should help the community are being funneled and corrupt land bank operations. I see council member corruption. I have seen way too many council council members avoiding accountability. We pay city council members to be present and accountable to the community. Instead, they hide behind computer screens, sitting at home, feet up, barely paying attention or participating in meetings or via a Zoom link while making decisions that affect our real, true lives. This is not representation. This is a paid vacation fully funded by a community and taxpayers that voted them in.
Please begin to wrap
Why
up your
are
comments.
they avoiding in-person accountability? Because they've been bought and paid for by big corporations like BPG and others. They don't want to face the community and explain why they voted against our interest in favor for in their favor for their corporate donors. President Congo, you know just as much as the city residents know. They have been several city council members that have been bought by special financial interests. I hear corrupt city council members planning to vote against dissolving the corrupt land bank. Trust that the corruption is being exposed, the community is paying close attention, and that our sense of smell for the BS is on point. We will remember come November, the fight is just beginning. This is why rent stabilization was still is so necessary. Several city council members rather kill the bill rather than protect their own communities.
Ms. Wilson,
and
please wrap up your
renters
comments.
that have been living there for their whole lives.
Please wrap up your comments.
Huh?
Please wrap up your comments.
I'm trying to, but it's very important that
Okay.
that
We'll
be
give
said.
you 30 more seconds.
Now the several corrupt council members have chosen to vote against rent stabilization that would have protected renters over astronomical rent hikes. They chose to protect landlords or profit and tenants over tenants' rights and family safety over homelessness. I see systematic barriers to equality. The land bank is creating two separate housing markets, one for preferred buyers given access to safe neighborhoods and quality
Wilson,
properties,
Ms. Wilson, I'm going to have
and
to.
one for
Ms.
less
Wilson,
wealthy and poor
Ms.
poor
Wilson.
people of color.
Mrs.
or
Wilson,
restricted.
please work with me. I've given you double your time. That's not fair to everyone else. I've
Well,
given
I
you
mean,
double
we
your
don't
time.
have many people here.
I know, but
so,
I've still
I mean, we
given
have a
you
short
double your
meeting,
time.
Pretty much.
If
I
someone
think
wants
you
to
should
yield,
let me
if someone
finish.
wants to yield their time, they can. But I have to be fair to everyone. Thank you.
Well,
Next, we have Hillary Daly.
I think I got 4 o'clock.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good evening. Little bit of story time. So my name is Hillary. I'm not a developer or a big investor, and I'm a resident who genuinely wanted to restore a home in Wilmington. And I did take the time to read the land bank application contract when I was ready to buy a few years ago, hoping to be a part of something good, maybe raise a family there. And honestly, it didn't feel like it was something for me. The process was discouraging. There was financial hurdles that wasn't feasible. They asked you to show your funds up front of 30% cash, and it's not realistic for a working resident. And I was approved for a conventional loan, and I could have pursued like a 2 or 3K renovation loan, which I thought would have worked. But even that didn't seem like it would fit the framework. And beyond that, there was legal terms that felt more punishing than supportive. There was liens, there was a deed in lieu, there were inspections, and then the tight deadlines, which was ridiculous. They give you 18 months to get the house fully renovated. And that's not enough time if unless you're a developer and you have contractors on hand. So it made me question whether or not the land bank is truly about helping residents. And it's disheartening because the land bank own website talks about revitalizing the neighborhood and creating affordable housing for Wilmington residents. Residents are supposed to take priority, but the system as it stands shut out the very people it claims to serve. And this is exactly why we needed rent stabilization, because it helps, is a realistic solution for our residents today When rents climb unchecked, it doesn't just displace families, it prevents them from even building the financial stability needed to buy a home in the first place. So if you're spending so much money on your income, how can you show that you qualify for the financing? So yes, I am supportive of dissolving or dismantling the land bank, not out of frustration, but because we can build something that's fair and more functional. A process that reflects the realities of what residents look like today and not just developers. One that removes unnecessary barriers and puts trust and access at the center. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Cheyenne Miller. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Mr. President, there are people online who were unable to get on and sign up on the sign-up link. And I just wanted to let you know some of them had raised their hands and they were worried because they didn't sign up that they may not be called. So I know you got a handle, but I wanted to point it out.
All right, thank you. One second, please, before you get started. WITN, did you just hear the concern? How many people are there? Yes, we can allow them. All right, thank you. Okay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Cheyenne Miller. One of the things that I wanted to speak on was in the last week or so, we had a lot of issues come up around safety and things like that, that I believe was like an email that was circulated by Chris Johnson saying that he wanted to make changes so that people could not have signs and things. He also recommended one change that I actually thought was a good idea, and I wanted to go back to it. It was the requirement that council be present in the chambers in order for a vote to take place. This is something that I'm disappointed. I'm looking at a lot of empty chairs here. And it's really frustrating that when we come to council in person, we cannot see those people. Back 2-3 years ago, you would see more people showing up in council, even when there was pandemic time. Sometimes people would show up. And if you look 6 or 7 years ago, there was no Zoom for people to join. People were having to come in person. A lot of the individuals who were present and on the council are still present and on the council. And yet they could show up then, but they can't show up now. People used to be able to go and approach and have conversations with council members that would come in be present in the chambers. Now we can't do that. We can't call you. We can't leave messages. We can't email and get a response. How are we supposed to be in touch with people? It's very important that we start to see that there's a rule change that requires people to be in their seats and requires them to be present unless there's extenuating circumstances, such as like a medical issue or somebody got COVID or something. But there's absolutely no reason why we should be present and council members should not. The other thing I want to bring up is the fact that we do need to make some serious changes to the land bank. I'd like to see the land bank, the legislation that's being proposed by Sinead Darby passed today, because we've been working on rent stabilization for about a year now for both the state and the city. One of the things that we were told both by state legislators and by city council members is that we do not need rent stabilization because we have the land bank. They told us that the land bank would be present for us to be able to access housing, affordable housing, and for us to become homeowners. And yet we continue to see individuals from the city who are coming up saying they're unable to access that housing. And that makes me wonder, how was the land bank proposed as an alternative solution when the land bank is not even giving out houses? I believe someone came up earlier and actually said that only 9 houses in the last 10 years have been flipped and given to residents. It used to be that when you went to the land bank website, you could actually scroll through the houses. I myself personally scrolled through the houses when I wanted to go and buy a house. And when I called, I was told the same thing that Hillary was told earlier, that you would have to have the money up front. And I was broke and I didn't have the money up front.
You have 30
so
seconds.
I had to go out and buy a home in a different way. And I just want to say that if we are not going to pass rent stabilization, which I'm disappointed in all of the legislators who did not vote yes, I noticed that everyone here voted yes. I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But for those that are online that did not vote yes, I'm extremely disappointed. Oh, I'm sorry, James, you didn't vote yes.
Correct.
You voted no. No, thank you.
Please don't direct any comments to anyone directly, but only to me. Thank you.
James voted no.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Chantel Newman. Next, we have Zumana Noor. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everyone. I'm here to speak in support of Ordinance 25025, an ordinance amending Chapter 11, expanding religious exemptions to noise ordinance. Everyone deserves to practice their religion
Excuse
freely.
me 1 second, please. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Zumana.
Thank you.
I'm here to speak in support of the ordinance amending Chapter 11, expanding religious exemptions to noise ordinance. Everyone deserves to practice their religion freely. Churches are able to ring bells throughout the day, and mosques should be able to broadcast the Muslim call to prayer as well, which is called the adhan. Wilmington is a rich and diverse city. We must uphold our community values of inclusivity and respect. We need to stand by the principles of religious freedom, but also acknowledge and embrace the rich diversity that defines Wilmington. Passing this ordinance will promote equity by allowing all religious groups to practice their religion while also acknowledging the diversity that makes up Wilmington. I would also like to speak on behalf of the ordinance in support of dissolving the land bank. The land bank was created to support affordable housing, but instead has been used to line the pockets of those in power and the developers. The council didn't pass rent stabilization, stating that the focus should be on affordable housing. However, the land bank has done everything but support affordable housing. It has been used for personal gain when it should be used to support the community in need. I ask all city council members to show humanity and vote in favor of both of these ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rebecca Winward.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for joining us, and please remember to introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Winward. I'm here to speak in support of dissolving the land bank. Clearly, the land bank is not doing what it is intended to do, which is provide affordable housing for Wilmington residents and first-time homeowners from Wilmington. And it's very frustrating that members of this council are not willing to make these changes that are necessary to actually help the people of Wilmington, when we were told that the reason we don't need rent stabilization is because we are having other plans like the land bank that are supposed to be creating affordable housing. But it's not creating affordable housing, and that has been demonstrated, and yet it's still being supported. So if we're not creating affordable housing and we're not doing rent stabilization, how are we helping people of Wilmington? We show up every meeting more and more angry because these are people's real lives that are being affected. We already have far too many people living on the streets in Wilmington, and by refusing to pass rent stabilization, refusing to take real steps to create affordable housing, we are only forcing more and more people onto the streets. Enough is enough. The weather is extreme. People are dying on the streets. You are directly putting people's lives at risk. And I'd also like to call attention to how the same members seem to not be in person every meeting, and how the members who are showing up are the ones who are at risk of being removed from their committees for no good reason. They're the ones doing the real work, and it's very unjust that that is happening. And that's all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm here.
And we'll go to our virtual public now, Christina K.
Good evening, and thank you for an opportunity to speak tonight, Council President. My name is Christina Kelly. I am not even going to ask at this point. You've again heard from numerous residents that are telling you again that a program does not work as intended. So I would hope that at this point, we don't have to stand and beg and do all of the demands and all that good stuff, right? I would hope that at this point, we can use common sense. We can say, oh, hey, this program's not working. Everybody can see that this program's not working. Let's take some action, right? That sounds like a wonderful plan, like, what a well-functioning council would do, right? Now, second, I'd like to comment that I personally have witnessed one of those 9 houses over on the east side be sold to a landlord that has numerous properties, 15 at my last count. That landlord purchased that home for less than $10,000. Proceeded to remove the carpets, place down vinyl plank flooring, which if anybody's ever worked with vinyl flooring, you know how incredibly inexpensive that is. Split that house in two and is now selling each of those 2 units for $280,000 on the east side. Cut me a break. We're going to talk about affordable housing. That ain't it. So if we need more examples, I mean, there's only 9 houses. I'm sure we can do the same process for the other 8. We're not doing a good job, simply put, right? We're not doing a good job. My last part of this comment is going to be, again, reminding everyone that whether you like it or not, residents, citizens, Americans have a First Amendment right to speak, to say things that you don't like, to hold signs, and even to peacefully disrupt your meetings. That is our First Amendment right. And if you have a problem with it, I'd suggest you run all of this proposed legislation through the ACLU before you try taking away constitutional rights. I know this is Trump's America now, and we all want to set fire to the Constitution. Let's not do it in the city of Wilmington. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. That concludes our public comment for this evening. Again, we want to thank everyone who came and spoke in chambers and all of our virtual audience. All right, come on up. Please remember to introduce yourself when you have 3 minutes. And please be careful when you get to the podium.
My name is Maggie Messinger, and I live in the 8th District. I'm not unfamiliar with land banking, having once overseen the preservation of thousands of acres of open space within the confines of a town land use department. There are dozens of examples of successful land banks, and there are excellent organizations like the National Land Bank Network that exist to help fledgling land banks get it right. It can be done with vision and competence and the right people. To allow the land bank to continue to operate as it has for the past several years would be irresponsible. It's the same players on the same board who have served since 2021, when the previous director was convicted of theft. The Attorney General who prosecuted that case said, "These crimes are representative of the kind of government and nonprofit corruption that goes on in Delaware." At that time, which was 5 years ago, the land bank's chief operating officer said, "The nonprofit board is very satisfied with the current small but highly effective staff and currently has no plans to expand its staff. This has led to severe mismanagement for years with the same cast of characters and little to no transparency." Between June of 2022 and April of 2024, almost 2 years, no minutes or agenda were posted on the land bank website, and the minutes that were posted between January of 2022 and June of 2022 have broken links, so you can't even see those minutes still. There are no minutes posted for all of 2023. Also on the website, the Land Bank Policies and Procedures Manual is a broken link. You can't get there. City Council should vote to dissolve this organization and prevent further financial damage and potentially protect remaining assets from being depleted. City Council should also vote to dissolve this organization based on the loss of public trust and reputation. Recent public relation efforts have failed to redeem that image. City Council should vote to dissolve this organization because it has consistently failed to achieve its stated goals due to poor management and oversight. It consistently fails to achieve, its continued existence may be detrimental. Disbanding allows resources to be directed towards more impactful initiatives and/or organizations. City Council should vote to dissolve this organization to allow for the release of resources and assets that can be then used to support new, more effective initiatives and organizations.
You have 30 seconds.
City Council should vote to dissolve this organization to allow for new leadership, direction, and structures to emerge, potentially restoring public trust and leading to more positive outcomes. And City Council should demand the return of the $3 million that was spent to bail out the developer of Gibraltar and mitigate the damages he caused there.
Thank you. So now we will move to legislative business. Councilmember Darby.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 25-025, agenda number 0058, an ordinance to amend Chapter 11 of the City Code relating to religious exemptions from noise ordinances.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and call for the yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and called for a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yeah, so this piece of legislation is just standing in support of Wilmington's Muslim community and their right to practice their faith fully and freely, including their public call to prayer. So currently, right now, our noise ordinance allows religious exemption. However, it does restrict the hours from 6 to 12 a.m., which actually, depending on the season, because sunset, sunrise, it excludes at least 2 of the 5 daily prayers that our Muslim community practice. So this has created an unintended barrier to full religious expression, and I really believe that no community should be silenced, and their sacred traditions, due to arbitrary time limits that were just made up, don't reflect the realities of their faith. So this is this ordinance will protect a form of religious expression. It will permit the call to prayer to be broadcasted up to 5 times daily, because the first and last one, which is at sunrise and then sunset, sometimes doesn't fall into the 6 to 12 o'clock restriction, or 6 to 12 a.m. Doesn't fall into that. So it's not disruptive. It is very brief. It's sacred. The churches in our city do it. So this is not about like special treatment. This is really just equal treatment to do what the churches do in our city. I believe in the diversity of faith in our city and making sure that it is protected and it's part of our constitutional right. So I hope that I have the support of my council colleagues tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Councilmember Willauer.
Thank you, Councilwoman Darby, for bringing this important legislation forward. I listen to the church bells in my neighborhood, and I really believe in just what you talked about, religious freedom and having everybody be able to practice their religion. And it's just core to the basis of our country. So thank you very much for bringing this forward, and I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Councilmember Hackett.
Yeah, you can add me as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Yeah, I just had a question for the sponsor.
Yes, you may proceed.
I was wondering, did you have a lot of support from the Muslim community?
Yes, there was an electronic petition that went around, and we got a lot of signatures. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Spadola.
Thank you, Council President. I'm curious if there was any outreach done to the communities that live right near the mosques. Last night, I was on the 1200 block of East 22nd Street. One, nobody knew that this ordinance was up for discussion. And 2, most people didn't have a problem with it. There was one heck no. But they didn't want to hear it. And reading this, it looks like the change would be that it allows amplifying equipment, and I don't see any restrictions in terms of volume or decibels. So can you speak to what type of input you got from the residents who live near mosques? And also, are there any restrictions whatsoever in terms of volume?
Councilmember Darby.
Yeah, so I met with the Muslim community. I met with some of the women. We went to a community center, and they started the petition to get signatures. And they also did the outreach. I personally have not gotten anyone who objected from the community to this, but they did have electronic signature that went around to community members, non-Muslims, and Muslims are on the petition.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Bracy.
Thank you. Question for the sponsor. What time would the earliest call to prayer be? Is that 4 a.m., 3:30 a.m.?
You don't.
So I'm sorry.
Yes,
Council
Councilmember
President.
Darby, thank you.
It depends. So whenever sun rises, and it depends on the season. When sun rises, so sunrise today was at, let me ask chat. What time was sunrise? And sunset today. It's searching the web. I don't know what time sunrise was today, but at 5:37 was the sun rose, and it set it at 8:35 tonight.
All right, thank you. Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you. At the committee meeting, I actually thought this is a really great idea. I don't have any issue with it. The problem was that I didn't actually have any mosques that were near my area, and I didn't get a chance to really talk to anyone about it. I did speak to Councilwoman Darby and asked, she did make mention of the petitions, and I was like, I would love to see them just to make certain that the people wouldn't be affected by it because it wouldn't affect the 6th district. But other than that, though, I'm definitely in support of it. I just didn't receive any petitions or anything.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Cabrera.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am not opposed to the legislation. I did reach out to members of the Muslim community, and a few said that they didn't know anything about it, and they thought that there wasn't a need, especially in neighborhoods that are so close to homes where it could be disruptive for children or elderly who, when you wake them up, it's hard to get back to sleep. However, I did hear back from another dear friend who I trust completely, and she said that there was some conversations and they're very much in support of it. So I will be supporting the legislation. However, we did ask to see a copy of the petitions to make sure that there was a thorough outreach and that this is not disruptive, because then if people call in and start complaining, it's harder to go back and take away something that has been given, especially if it's before the 6 a.m. hour, as that could be disruptive. But I will be planning to support this, as I've worked very closely with the Muslim community and definitely want to respect their religious freedoms. But again, with the noise ordinance, we understand why they're in place. And I know that having lived in a neighborhood where the churches rang the bell, the last ringing of the bell was at 6 p.m., and they didn't do it any sooner than 6 a.m. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Owens.
Yes. Again, thank you, Councilwoman Darby, for bringing this forward. I'm already a co-sponsor on it. Again, this is a call for unity, a call for reflection, and a call for community that I think should be echoed. And if I'm correct, they already use amplifying ways to do the call within the current noise ordinance law, correct?
Yes, some of them do, yes.
All right. So the communities around of it, they pretty much have a sense of this. I would say this is no different than a train going through a neighborhood over on the north side or bells being rung. I'm in full support of this. And again, this is just a bill of equity.
All right, thank you. See no other hands raised. We turn back to the sponsor.
I have no other comments at all. I just hope my council colleagues supports the religious freedom for our Muslim community.
All right, thank you. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman Owens?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Willauer?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Field?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes.
Councilman Hackett?
Yes.
Councilman Spadola?
No.
President Congo?
Yes.
12 yeas, 1 nay.
Declared adopted.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance number 25-026, agenda number 0059, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code to dissolve the Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank Corporation.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and call for the yea and nay vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and called for a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes. So this piece of legislation ordinance will dissolve our land bank. And I think our community clearly outlined in the committee meeting and here tonight on why that needs to happen. I really believe that there's no amount of reform that we can do to make sure the land bank is accountable to the community. So I believe the best thing for city council to do is to get rid of that entity and to come back together and bring everything in-house and then come back together and have several meetings with the community, amongst ourselves, publicly, and to have a discussion about what do we do next. I think that is the boldest, most courageous. We could be innovative. We can really think outside of the box. We could really move forward in like how we're serving our city and look at it in a different way when we're talking about affordable housing. So I just think it's time that we become that city council. And unfortunately, I don't see that happening. I have people calling to ask me to hold this tonight for many reasons, right? Because I know I probably don't have the votes for a dissolvement to happen because people really believe that if city council gets more information about how terrible this land bank is, that they will just change their mind and all of a sudden want to dissolve the land bank. But I really don't believe that. I believe that as much information that we provide, I provide, the audit provides, the community provides, and says this entity is not a good fit for our community, I still don't think city council, just my experience, 5 years with the majority of them, I still don't think with the common sense that they would do it. I think they operate on different morals and standards. So for me, having different people calling me, telling me I don't have the votes, hold it, for whatever reason to try to get the votes, I don't believe I'm going to get the votes ever to dissolve it. And we're going to have to focus on reform, which I think will help a little bit. It's very short term, but eventually it will need to be dissolved. We will have to come back to this. And it pains me to continue to be on city council, to want to be bold, innovative, and for change to happen, but not have the support. And I feel like I'm trying, and the support just isn't there. So yeah, that's what I have.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do agree with Councilwoman Darby regarding the land bank, and I think it needs some reform and major reforming. I have received a lot of complaints. I wasn't at the committee meeting. I did go back and watch it. As I stated, I've received a lot of calls. I think it's some major issues and there needs to be some major reforms. But because talking to some colleagues, I don't think we do have the support. I'm going to vote present tonight, but I think the land bank really has some issues, and we really need to pay attention a little bit more to what is going on with the land bank. But that's my only comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Wallauer.
Thank you, Council President. I agree with the concerns that many council members have expressed about the land bank. I did serve as the first executive director of the Wilmington Land Bank, so I'm very familiar with the operations. A land bank, a functioning land bank, can really do good things for a community and can play a role, like a really effective role. But the Wilmington Land Bank has had a long history of not achieving those goals. And as a lot of residents here tonight talked about, what is the land bank's relationship to creating affordable housing? It hasn't been effective as it should have been in creating affordable housing, and it hasn't been effective as it should be in creating long-term affordable housing. And when one of the biggest places that the land bank has had an impact is in the 5th District, in the Hilltop neighborhood. And there have been homes in the 5th District that have been renovated. But when I, last summer, knocking on doors, talking to residents, many people who have purchased those homes are not from Wilmington. And that's one of my biggest concerns about the land bank is that it's creating affordable homeownership opportunities. There are some affordable homeownership opportunities that have been created by the land bank, but from what I saw, they were mostly affordable homeownership opportunities for people from New York and New Jersey. And that's not good enough. So I want to thank Councilwoman Darby for just focusing all of our attention on this. I want to thank the residents who have highlighted the financial issues of the land bank. Those are really significant because Wilmington Housing Partnership, which also kind of served this function of rehabbing properties, they had such their bad accounting led to, one, the organization going under, and two, the city of Wilmington paying the tab for a loan that they were not able to repay. So those issues are absolutely important. I just think that there's more information about the land bank. They haven't been posting, they haven't been posting their audited financial statements. I think there's a lot of compliance requirements that the public deserves to know about how the land bank has handled them, so that the public can have confidence in the decisions, can understand why the council is taking such a drastic step of dissolving the land bank. So I do think more information would help more council members understand the serious issues with the land bank. So that's why I've asked for more information. But I do understand Councilwoman Darby has been leading this effort, has been talking, and so I understand that the timing, you'll decide on the timing of when the vote is taken. But I also want to say that many residents have brought up to me that they've had trouble getting properties from the land bank, and that the procedures are not clear, and that the inventory isn't available, and that they don't know how to access it. And developers are, some developers get access, some developers don't. So having run the land bank, I know it is possible to set up policies and procedures that are, transparent. And I'm just confused why in so many years the land bank hasn't been able to achieve that. That's all, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Bracy.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to take a moment to first say that I'm not in support of dissolving the land bank. However, I am in support of reforming the Wilmington Land Bank, and for us to take that next innovative step, as Councilwoman Darby said, to establish a true affordable home ownership program for our residents. Because what I'm hearing from many in the community is not just the desire to see vacant properties activated, but a deeper call for access to home ownership that's actually affordable for Wilmington families. And that's a distinction that I think we need to take seriously, because I think there's two separate conversations happening. There are the residents that want a pathway to home ownership and they thought it was through the land bank. And then there's the land bank whose current structure right now is prioritizing getting vacant properties back online. And we must be honest about who is ultimately benefiting from that process. And if we're not intentional, we risk creating a system that benefits outside investors or higher income buyers, while sidelining the very residents who have stayed, contributed, and helped the city. So I think reforming the land bank would mean ensuring greater transparency, accountability, all the things that everyone's talking about, but also community benefit. And if there's a way we can really center residents who want to own homes, not flip them, and compare that with a robust city-supported affordable home ownership program, something that includes down payment assistance, credit support, pathways to long-term equity. I think that's the conversation that we really need to have, while we're also looking at how we continue to get vacant properties online, because that's a need for the city. So there's a lot that we can do. In a city like ours, I really do think that we need to prioritize a robust housing strategy that incorporates rent stability and all the other things that have been in conversation in a meaningful way, prioritizes pathways to home ownership, and stabilizing our community, and also building community wealth. So I look forward to us really digging in on these conversations. I appreciate Councilwoman Darby's commitment to making sure that we're having these tough conversations. But I do not support the dissolvement of the land bank. I support us really digging in and making it work the way we need it to work. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember McCoy. I'm sorry, Councilmember Cabrera. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to bring up a couple points. There was comments made about 9 properties. To date, just want to say that there's a total of 309 land bank properties that have been repurposed. As at the end of 2024, 166 were rehab for affordable home ownership, 46 for affordable rental, and 97 nonprofit joint affordable housing projects. Anything that's on reserve is reserved for East Side Rising and other projects that the city has going on. In the Lower Hilltop alone, the first 3 homes were sold to local single moms and a grandmom, one who works for Downtown Vision. The neighbors there have spoken of the transformation in their neighborhood, as they had 50 vacant properties in a 10-block radius, and 42 of them have been purchased, and we continue to put them out in the public. 2 of them are currently for sale, and they are within affordable guidelines. The homes are sold and rented with the HUD guidelines. It was WHA as an example. There was a project on the north side that was brought up by a council colleague, that those homes are being sold for a higher price. That conversation can be had directly with WHA. The properties we acquire are dilapidated properties, and usually they're in troubled neighborhoods. You can't discriminate on who purchased them. They have to show the resources to fix the property. So we're not just transferring a vacant to remain vacant under a separate ownership if the person doesn't have the resources to get the house online within a timely fashion. There was no fiscal impact study or capacity studies, no conversations as to whether real estate and housing can handle this project, not to mention that the city can't just go out and fundraise. The city was not successful in managing any of the properties it did have, which led to searching for a solution and the creation of the land bank. In addition to the criticism made of Habitat for Humanity, the Wilmington Housing Authority also receives properties, and their executive director also served on the board. In addition, as far as the audit that was mentioned, conveniently, the outcome of the corrections made and the city auditor confirming that the issues were addressed are not mentioned in the criticism. I will not be supporting this, as I am a member of the land bank by my position on city council, as is the president and the chair of finance, and we are ethically allowed to vote on any issues that have to do with the land bank. And I will vote for the city budget, which is what I did, which does allocate money for the land bank. It was not a separate vote for the land bank, as some would like to allude. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Harley.
Yes, thank you. So first of all, I want to thank everyone that came out tonight to share their thoughts, their opinions, and their desires as it relates to the land bank. I cannot agree more that the land bank definitely requires more improvements. I think there is a need for a greater level of accountability, which I, as a new member of the board, have already begun to inquire once joining the land bank board in January with the previous executive director. So first of all, I just want to say that I definitely agree that the current system that is in place definitely needs a overhaul. However, I do believe that the land bank is a great tool. And again, like I said, that needs to be improved. The partnerships between the land bank and the Woodlawn Trustees, Habitat for Humanities, SENAIR, Central Baptist, Jumpstart, and a lot of other organizations have focused on affordable housing and have made a significant impact in my fourth district, particularly in two communities with meaning two communities, the east side primarily, and also Southbridge. So when we're talking about the improvements and what is wrong, I agree 100%. But I also have to point out the value that the land bank has had primarily in the fourth district. So again, on the east side, many of the community improvements definitely can be attributed to the efforts of the land bank. Even Southbridge, right now we have 30 homes online right now that are currently being under construction that I know that the Southbridge residents are excited about. So although I can't support this legislation, I am in full support of major improvements, greater accountability, more engagement, and even input from the community to address the many pathways that we need to address: vacancies, home ownership, and ultimately more neighborhood stabilization. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone that spoke tonight, I heard you, and we're going to take all this information back, and we definitely are going to talk about how we can move forward. And I also want to give kudos to Council Member Bracy in terms of the different pathways and to reimagine what the land bank is supposed to be doing, because clearly the original mission and vision could possibly may or may not be the vision that the community is aware of. But either way, whatever the cause, we need to reimagine and we need to come back together to talk about how we can improve it. So unfortunately, I can't support the legislation, but I am in full support of major improvements and greater accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
I'm in full. I echo the sentiments of my colleagues, Councilmember Bracy, and also Harley and Cabrera. I previously sat on the land bank as well by virtue of my position as finance chair, and certainly a lot of work needs to be done. But I think it is this highlights a bigger problem. That the land bank was not originally intended to even just be an affordable housing vehicle. It was really intended to convert abandoned housing. So I think when we look at a new tool, I think we have to look at how can we streamline zoning, how can we streamline building? Because the simple thing is we just don't have enough supply. So when we look at neighborhoods through the city, we have to look at, we need to build up as a city. We need higher, more apartments, more sustainable housing throughout all 8 districts. So that's just, an aside, but certainly the land bank's not perfect. But the thing is right now, we don't even have the staff in real estate and housing to even manage and implement this program. We only have, 3 or 4 individuals. So I believe the land bank will need to remain in place for now until we can figure out some kind of reform.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I disagree. I agree with everything everybody's saying, but I have to stress that it definitely needs some reform. I would like to. I have a piece of legislation that I like to see someone from the community, a minority in the land bank. Hasn't. I know they've done a lot of great work on the east side. And throughout the city, you can't deny that. But we have to, when you have people coming in there constantly stating that the lady stated that she was approved as 1.K or something, and she's not getting a call back and she's not being looked at. And I'm not in that, but I do know people who are interested in houses, and we have to give other people opportunities. You hear about somebody who owns 15 houses, and they are, and you have. I'm just thinking, when President Hanifa was in there, she was looking for single parents, single men for the land bank to help them get homes, and it has converted into a real estate agency. And we all know it has turned into a real estate agency, and that's not what the land bank is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be fair and square. And you give somebody 18 months, that is not enough time when you get in these houses that are in horrible condition to fix up. So I'm in favor of the reform, but we have to, call a spade a spade. 2 years, a big developer can't even fix a house in 2 years. And, for somebody to put 80% of their earnings into a house and then for them to take it back, it needs some reform. I'm just emphasizing what people are saying. And it definitely needs some reform. You say that it's not enough people in real estate and housing. If we don't get a reform, I agree it needs to come back into the city, because we can't just keep ignoring the fact that it's an issue with this, and we can't ignore that fact. And it is. These people are not coming up there and making these phone calls for nothing. So it is an issue. So I agree with everybody. We need to take this reform serious and sit down and talk about it. It's not fair.
All right, thank you, Councilmember McCoy, followed by Councilmember Owens, and then Councilmember Harley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just wanted to make a quick statement because I feel as though it's a lot of conversation going on, and I think we're starting to jumble up everything. I do agree that we do need reform. When it came to the committee meeting, I did express the things that were actually going on in my neighborhood and where I did see things that were going well, but what I would like to see more of. The correction I just wanted to make, or I just wanted to state and then get off, is the fact that when I got into council, there were 3 different housing programs kind of going on at the same time. And I'm wondering whether or not we are mismatching or pairing up incorrectly which ones go with what. We had our former president doing the Housing Homestead Act. We had Women's Housing Partnership was like on its way out. Land Bank was on its way in. So I'm not certain whether or not people have gotten it misconstrued on what was supposed to happen, but I do think that this is an excellent chance for us to get it right. And like I stated, council really needs to be, we need to make certain that we're being accountable for what's happening in the land bank, because of the fact that we do have members who are part of the land bank, and we have to keep closer eyes on it. And I am glad that Councilman Darby did, make certain she brought it to our attention. But I am not in favor of to dissolve it. But I definitely do believe it should be reformed. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Owens.
Yes, thank you, Council President. So I've heard a lot of discussion tonight, and I just want to add in where I'm coming from things. As many of you know, I've talked about a project on the north side multiple times, and I just want to be clear about that project, right? It was a project that came from the land bank, went to a developer who's developing the work. The homes there are being sold, and I'm on their Zillow right now, $329,000 and $900. It is for an 871 square foot lot. That is, I could, if I wanted to move out of my district, I could move downtown into one of the nice new apartment buildings and still have to pay less than that right now. When it comes to what is going on with the land bank, they're supposed to be creating affordable options for residents of the city of Wilmington. And I say residents of the city of Wilmington because whose taxpayer dollars is going to fund these projects? The vast majority of money, as stated at the last community development meeting, that it was fought for by members who are on both the land banks board and on city council to get that additional $1 million, to get the $500,000 prior to that, to get that extra money from ARPA funds as well too. That is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the private money that you went in and got. That's good. I know they just got $250,000 from Bank of America. They just got $1 million from the city of Wilmington of taxpayer dollars. The market that they're using for this is not the city of Wilmington. They're marketing these new houses in Philadelphia. And I've been through these houses. We've had a lot of issues over there. They have the first sits done. But I'll be honest for you, for $329,000, I at least want a backyard. I at least want a front yard. When your front door is right on Market Street and you're asking for this type of money, come on now. And then every time I ask a question, yes, the audit came up. Yes, y'all finally corrected things. And again, I've talked to the executive director and I have thanked him for correcting things finally. But the reason why I talked about that audit was because that audit also stated that documentation and auditing was not completely done for the years of 2022, 2023, and 2024. But yet there were still people who were advocating to give them more money, So if you actively knew that something was going on with the land bank, why wouldn't you try to fix it? I'm new here. I'm on my 7th month.
Same.
Right? If y'all have known this, why didn't y'all try to fix it? That's all I have to say right now.
Thank you. Councilmember Harley, followed by Councilmember Spadola.
So again, I don't think that no one disagrees that the land bank needs to be improved and that there needs to be more accountability. We did have other council members that have been on the board, and I also want to invite any council member, even though the three of us are voting members, other council members can join these meetings and share your input and the thoughts that you have as it relates to what the land bank can do better. So again, I do not disagree that that it does not need to be overhauled. Again, everybody over and over and over, and we support that same repetitive experience that everyone is having. All I'm simply saying is there are projects in the pipeline that's going to impact residents that are looking forward to them being completed. And I just don't believe that dismantling it without a right now current process is the best thing for us to do for our residents. So that is the reason why I am not going to support it, because we do not have a plan right now in place. And there are projects that are in the pipeline. And I do believe in due process. I do believe in us giving them the opportunity to identify the things that we believe that need to be corrected and allow them time to be held accountable. I'm just now getting on the board. And again, I invite all the council members that have ideas and suggestions, please join us when we have our meetings. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Spadola, followed by Councilmember Cabrera.
Thank you, Council President. I think we can acknowledge the issues that exist within the land bank that I have faith that the current leadership will work on. We can also acknowledge the nationwide housing crisis that we have, and that, for Wilmington, I would love for Wilmington to solve it. But if we were to dissolve the land bank, when I think about the land bank, I think about the land bank taking a vacant, dilapidated property, a drug den, contributing to blight and crime in the neighborhood, reducing the quality of life for the people that live around it. And if we were to dissolve the land bank today, who would do that tomorrow? Nobody. And we can form a working group to come up with a better way. Sure, let's do that. But I want the land bank back at it tomorrow, cleaning up our vacants and cleaning up our blight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cabrera, followed by Councilmember Willauer.
Yes, Council President, I also wanted to point out in reference to marketing in Philadelphia, the land bank does not market actively in any market. People go to the website, they see that the properties are available, and we cannot discriminate as to who is able to bid on those properties or not. 85% of the developers that are working on those properties are small, minority-owned businesses. There are no big developers that properties are set aside for. The only properties that are reserved are properties that are going into a bigger project, as mentioned before, East Side Rising, the properties that are now going to be developed in Southbridge. So those are the ones for those nonprofits, including Wilmington Housing Authority, who acquired properties in the north side of Wilmington, where Councilmember Owens mentioned. So Wilmington Housing Authority is the one who's setting the prices. It is their project. They acquired the homes from the land bank. Well, the land bank is not involved in the selling of those properties. They are the ones who acquired it, they're rehabilitating it, and they're the ones who listed them on the market. So any questions in reference to their pricing should go directly to the Wilmington Housing Authority. So just want to make sure that we clarify and that we're working with facts, not hearsay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Willauer, followed by Councilmember Oliver.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, when we're talking about vacancy, we're talking about homes that have been abandoned, we're talking about getting vacant properties back into use. The city of Wilmington does have a set of tools for doing that. And the Department of Real Estate and Housing, as part of the code and charter, they also have in the past effectively done that work of taking, properties that didn't sell at foreclosure, of putting out an RFP, of people have bidding on them, fixing them up. And when I first joined the land bank, the city of Wilmington, had been doing that work. And the goal of the land bank was to set up an entity that could do that work better than the Department of Real Estate and Housing. And I think that the real issue here is it's not true that there's nobody else who could do this work. The city of Wilmington's Department of Real Estate and Housing could do this work. But the question is who can do it better? And my concern is the land bank was supposed to do it better, but the compliance issues don't show that they're doing it better. And so the real question is do we want the city of Wilmington to take back this work and do it in-house with the compliance and oversight that having it be part of city government would offer? Or do we want to have this organization that is outside of the oversight of the city and that hasn't been, kind of meeting a lot of normal compliance practices, policies that anybody would expect? So to me, that's the real question tonight.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, lastly, I'm hearing some of this conversation and it's really bothering my stomach. I'm out in the community. I ride around, I walk around. I had a meeting with some of the minority contractors. When I ride around and, I have Hispanic in my family. My cousin's been married to a Hispanic guy for 35 years. The only people I see doing the work is Hispanics. Not saying you don't give another group of individuals a bone here and there, but I don't see a bunch of minority Black contractors out there working. You have one or two, but other than that, I just see a whole bunch of Hispanics working on all these houses. And I want this conversation, well, I'm not asking nobody to stop talking, but the more you're talking about it, the more you're pissing me off, because it is some inconsistencies with this land bank, and we all know it is. And to keep trying to camouflage it, just stop talking about it, because you can't tell me that meeting I just had with them 30 Black contractors and only one of them have had work from the land bank, that it's a whole bunch of minorities out there. Yes, a whole bunch of Hispanic people doing work out there, okay? And that's all I have to say, and I'm done with it.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Owens.
Yeah, I just have a few point of clarities, and this is just a question to ask when it comes to the minority contractors. So I hear the number that 85% of the contractors are minority based, but how big of a percentage of the work are they actually getting? So if you're doing 329 houses, I think was stated earlier, hold me accountable if I'm wrong on that number, I apologize, but 300 plus. If you have, let's just say you have 20 contractors doing work, right? And 15 of them are minority contractors, but they only get, let's say, 15 properties out of the 300. Technically, you're still using 85% minority contractors right there. So I just want to know, what is the actual breakdown of the work that's being done as well too. I have seen some of the minority contractors work, and let me just say it is amazing. They're doing a great job. So I'm not saying stop that. What I'm saying is, can you just give me the breakdown of what is the actual workload that they're getting on these properties as well too. And again, going back to Northside, since it keeps being brought up, and you know I'm going to stand strong for my community, since you know someone who's been here hasn't. This is something that the community has been asking questions for. I invite people to come to our civic association meetings. Maybe they'll be able to hear from the actual neighbors and everything about this property. But why it was given to the Wilmington Housing Authority, again, this is we have to stay with the same standards. So if we're requiring others who are acquiring property from the land bank to sell this at affordable housing, why does it not stand the same for this entity here? Again, it is being sold over $100,000 more than what properties probably should be selling for in the area. And again, I love the area that I live in. I love my district. I wish we had a value where we could all sell our houses at this, but right now that is not affordable and attainable for the residents that live in the city of Wilmington who want to transfer from rental properties to home ownership. It creates an inopportunity for them to do that right here. And when we talk about the housing crisis here, it is very limited housing that we do have here. So we should be trying to help our residents transfer from renters to home owners. I believe in that, right? I believe that what Councilwoman Bracey talked about more down payment assistance, helping our residents become homeowners, building that generational wealth. But again, it keeps being brought up about Northside. And, you know, I was sitting back tonight, but when you mention Northside and you mention these properties, again, let's be real about it. The average median income is $36,000 and $600 and some change, right? That's the average median income for that area. You're not going to any bank to get any mortgage to get these homes whatsoever. It is not attainable for the people who live in this community. And that's what it should be about. That's what the land bank was set up for. That's what our money is going to. All of us pay taxes here. That is what it's supposed to go to. So again, stated by my council colleague again and again, saying, all right, well, it's a different set of rules for them than the rest of the land banks over in the 5th district, in the 6th district, or where lower hilltop area. I forget what district that is. I think it's 5th. Why is it different over there, but over in the 1st district, we get taken advantage of? That's all I'm asking. I've been asking the same questions time and time again. I want to thank Councilwoman Harley, who is new to the board, just like I'm new to this council. She just became the finance chair. And I know she's been showing up for the meetings. But again, this isn't an issue that arose in January. This has been going on for years. These questions have been asked for years. And I have asked this question of the council members who have been on the board for multiple years. And it's always not until the meeting of, oh, well, come with facts. Well, I try to, but you don't give any information when asked. And we can go back, run back all the videos. It has been asked multiple times. So let's not play games. Let's be honest with each other.
All right, thank you. I am going to be in support of this ordinance. I just think that, I already spoke to this during the committee meeting, so I don't want to repeat a lot of what has already been said. I just don't think that we can continue to give grace to an organization that doesn't deserve it. We've heard countless stories during committee meetings, during council meetings, and probably in our personal lives about how the land bank just hasn't been treating people from Wilmington fairly. They have done some good work, of course, but I think there's a lot to be desired of the land bank, and I think that it needs to be dissolved. I guess before she was even on council, and I just had so much respect for her and her integrity when Councilmember Willauer stepped down from the land bank because of what she was saying. That meant that, that said a lot to me. And I don't think that it's gotten any better. I think they may have taken some steps to try to improve, but even now, they only give us information when a council meeting is about to, or committee meeting is about to happen, and they don't want to be blasted on, during the meeting on live TV. So it's just, I just don't think they deserve the grace. I'm not going to repeat, again, I'm not going to repeat a lot of what has already been said. And with that, I will return it to the sponsor.
Yes, no, thank you. So a lot was said. So a lot of things I wanted to say, I'm not going to repeat anything anyone says, but I do want to let the community know that I have been having a lot of conversations about this. So for me, in my first term, the land bank was not my focus. The people who were serving on the board would come back with great reports. But something happened early this year that made me start investigating. And once I start going down that rabbit hole, it's accountability that needs to happen, right? So when I know something, it's time to act on it. So I do want to say that it was mentioned earlier by, I think, Councilmember Bracy. She said it was innovative to reform. And I think she had mentioned me in that statement. And I just want to be clear, it's not innovative to reform systems. Innovation is actually creating new ways of thinking, building, or doing, often outside of or beyond the existing structure. Reform just tweaks existing systems. It's just adjusting it. It's improving it. It's correcting it. And usually reform is very short-lived. But when you start over, and because you can't reform systems that are doing exactly what it's supposed to do, right? So I want that to be very clear. Reform is not innovative. And I also want to say that I know that this piece of legislation was not going to pass, right? But I think this conversation is important to put to the forefront all the city council people. And in those conversations that I had with the community, I had with different council people, that I had with people who love the land bank, hate the land bank. I even had a meeting with Bud Friel. And in that, I was able to come up with a list of reforms so that we can do, I guess, short term, because I bet you in the next few years, we're going to be back here talking about dissolving the land bank. We're going to do these little reforms. It's going to, short term, look good and make you feel good. But it's not really going to do what it needs to do. So I do have a piece of legislation that will hopefully, I have work obligations next week, so I can't be here, but hopefully someone can do a first and second reader for me, of a piece of legislation that will reform the land bank. I have reached out to all 12 people, so in that, to be able to participate in that conversation about what reform looks like for the land bank. So they all know that my email address has been the same for 5 years, and my phone number if you want to send me any feedback once the piece of reform legislation comes out to you, and then to be able to click my link and set up a meeting with me. So in that, I also wanted to add that I am going to hold this piece of legislation tonight. So I am going to do that. But I also want you to know that as we introduce this reform piece of legislation, I wholeheartedly know that it's not innovative. It is not a new way of thinking. It is not bold, and it's not actually the best thing for the city of Wilmington. And I tried. And we're going to go with this reform route. And I bet you in the next few years, we'll be right back here at the dissolvement talking about the land bank. So I want to just set it I'm going to hold, I would say go for a vote, but I'm going to hold it for tonight.
All right, thank you. You may continue.
Oh, yeah, next. So, Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading. Or no, not an ordinance. I got a resolution, huh? I got all these papers. Yeah, Mr. President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 25-040, agenda number 0077, revision 2. Whereas the Wilmington City Council allocates...
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yeah, so this resolution creates a new council rule, 10.3. It's a public travel reporting requirement. So city council use public dollars to travel to different conferences. We can go to different workshops. A lot of people go to Atlanta and Maryland and New York and Massachusetts, wherever they go for these conferences, right? To hear bold and innovative ideas to bring back to the city. So they go to these conferences, and then I don't even know that most council people are going. And then when they come back, you hear nothing and you don't see anything being implemented by what's happening at these conferences. I haven't seen one reform, as we love reform, and or other things happening that came from those conferences we go to. So this will make it an obligation that if you use public dollars to travel internationally, because some people go away to these nice countries in the Middle East somewhere. Some council people get to go, and then there's some who travel on the state side. It will make it necessary and a requirement that they have to do a public presentation at a committee hearing. At first it was just at the intergovernmental hearing, but it can be at any appropriate committee or committee hearing or committee of the whole, whichever one is the next public meeting after they come back from their travels. They would have to present on the purpose and the details of their travel to the public. So that is all I have.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
I wholeheartedly support this. I do think this is necessary. We do have a lot of our colleagues that go to domestic trips, and I think it's just good too, so we find out what ideas they are getting. I did want to point of clarity, though. It was brought up international travel. I did travel to the Middle East, but I've reiterated this several times. It was not at taxpayer dollars. It was we were a guest of the country of Qatar. So, it's clear 100% that it was not taxpayer dollars, but I certainly agree if taxpayer dollars are used, then it should be reported at the committee level. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Bracy, followed by Councilmember Spadola.
Thank you. So I appreciate Councilmember Darby making the adjustment that I requested so that this could be something at any committee. I did want to state for the record that I have gone on travel and I have brought back ideas. The one idea that we're actually working on together, the Buy Back the Blocks, started from a conference and then I was connected to the folks that are actually doing this work in other states. The other conference that I've gone on, the last travel I actually did submit a report to City Council. And that wasn't even taxpayer dollars spent. That was actually a scholarship to go look at early education programming and see how we can, if there was opportunities to replicate something like that in Wilmington. So I think the purpose of the travel should be looking at what's going on in other places so that we can then see if it's something that is adoptable in our city. So I personally support us doing this and having some kind of visibility. The last trip I went on, a press release went out. So it was very visible as to what happened and what I was doing. And so I have absolutely no problem with us making this, part of our council rules. I think it's a good exercise in making sure that if we are going out and representing our city, that we are reporting out in some way to the community, not necessarily reporting to each other, because it's not about us justifying something to another council member, but it's really about us making sure that we're sharing information with the community about the things that we're working on. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Spadola, followed by Councilmember Harley.
Thank you, Council President Congo. I like the idea of it, and I do like the change in terms of reporting to any committee or the committee of the whole, but that's still not conducive to the public or the media combing through the history of how council members have traveled. I think a better idea would be if we had it on a website where it was just, the travel was displayed, receipts or whatever, how the money was spent. So I don't know, I'm conflicted in the sense, is there any way we could add that, Councilmember Dar, if you were supportive of that, where you could add a line? Because for me, I'm not listening. I'm not going to a committee meeting just to hear what somebody did in Florida or whatever. But would I check out the website? Absolutely. And I think the public, especially over the course of, 3 or 4 years, it's unwieldy to go check out every committee meeting after a council member went on a trip. So I don't know actually if you like that idea, if you'd be willing to hold it and to tighten it up, because I think it's It's almost there. And additionally, that's something I could work on separately. So I'm just gonna throw that out there and hear your response to that.
Thank you. I want to remind all council members who are virtual to please mute your microphones. Councilmember Darby, did you want to respond now or at the end?
I can respond now. So you're basically asking if we can make an amendment or work on something that would add that all receipts for travel or public records on the website. Is that what I'm hearing?
Council President, may I?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
Councilmember.
or basically just whatever would be discussed at the committee meeting would be a separate web page on the website where anybody who was looking into council members' travel could visit and see where they went, how much it costs. You know, in terms of like the breakdown of each receipt, you know, that's in the details. But yes, I think that's something to flesh out. But I think that's why over the course of 5 years, you're going to want something to access quickly. You're not going to want to watch a committee meeting, especially if you wouldn't even know what committee meeting to watch necessarily.
Councilmember Darby.
Yeah, I would be in support of that because I have nothing to hide, and I hope anybody else wouldn't. So I wouldn't mind anything being public about the travel and how much it costs. I don't know if I would put it with this. Maybe something separate is what I'm thinking. Because it sounds like it needs to be fleshed out. And I don't know if we got time for that. But yeah, I'm definitely in support of that.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Harley, then Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, thank you. I definitely think that this is a good piece of legislation. There are conversations that take place with council members. I'm going to speak for myself. I usually come back kind of excited and talk to Marshall about the committees that I attended and share information actually with some other community leaders. In this case, of course, you know, Hanifa Shabazz, who's doing some great work over in Southbridge when the National League of Cities came up with a wonderful playbook around affordable housing and share the information. So I think this is an opportunity to encourage us not to just share these one-on-one silo kind of conversations, but it can be broader. And I do think that it will be a great ideal, more value added to share it in the committee meeting. So I think this is a great ideal and a great piece of legislation as it is right now. And I want to say you have some council members that go to meetings and conferences, and you have some council members that don't. So thank you. Thank you for sponsoring this legislation, Councilmember Darby.
Thank you, Councilmember Oliver. I'm not sure if you still had a comment. Do any other council members have any comments? Councilmember McCoy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Councilman Oliver, you still needed to.
Yes, please. No, I just wanted to make a statement that, you know, when most council members do go, they do come back and share. So I don't know a council member that hasn't went on travel and hasn't came back and shared or presented legislation. I know I've supported, and I presented too. And then one time we came back with the wallets that we gave out. So I don't think people are going on these and not coming back. I'm working with something now with Harmon Carey. I just don't see where council members aren't coming back and not sharing this information. So I don't get that.
All right, thank you. Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you. I just wanted to share that I have been fortunate. I have only really been to like 2, and both times I came back and it actually led to something. Thank you so much, Councilman Bracy, for the invitation to Baltimore. And thank you very much to Councilwoman Oliver and Councilman Johnson, which led to CPSI. I don't have an issue with this. I just felt as though I wanted to make certain that we were putting the information out there, making certain that people are aware and not just, I just wanted to make certain that, you know, it was for transparency's sake and not kind of like lording anything over anyone, because I have not really left a 1.5 to 2 hour area of the city of Wilmington. But I don't have an issue with this piece of legislation.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Harley.
Yes, I forgot to mention one thing. As it relates to bringing back information, I actually brought back a book for some of the council members that attended the NLC back in November. We were talking about an entrepreneurial city, and there was a presentation, and that there were books that were given out. And I definitely made sure that my council colleagues that attended that they got the books so we can talk about some of the ideals that are in the book that we can hopefully possibly implement here in the city. So again, like I said, those conversations are going on. They are happening, but this here is a broader conversation and an opportunity for us to be able to share it not only publicly with our council colleagues, but also with the community. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. And return back to the sponsor.
Yes, no, thank you. I'm ready to vote.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Hackett did ask to be excused. Clerk, please call. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman Owens?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
No.
Councilwoman Harley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Willauer?
Her hand is up.
Yes. Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Field?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes.
Councilman Spadola?
Yes.
President Congo?
Yes.
11 yeas, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
Declared adopted. Councilmember Darby.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading. Resolution? No? Resolution. Oh, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 25-041, agenda number 0078. Whereas the city of Wilmington and state of Delaware are committed to public safety, offender rehabilitation.
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The resolution be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, so this piece of legislation is in regards to creating a subcommittee that will be, I was trying to find, I have so many papers, but this is a subcommittee to talk about reintegration for individuals who are sex offenders back into our community. So I get a lot of calls from community members who have been renters, homeowners in our community living on blocks and feeling as if they are not being, that the process to a sex offender moving on their block is unfair and causes a lot of issues for them. So in this, I have two hats on. I have my community member hat on and my mom hat on, and it is concerning some of the things and the process and what it looks like. And then with my social worker, I guess, community lens hat on. And another way, I also understand how important reintegration is for all communities, right? So trying to find a balance between how do we reintegrate people who are coming from that community, who do have those that background. How do we integrate them into our society and welcome them, right? That's the social worker hat. But then also, how do we make community members feel safe in that? And what is that balance? Because I actually have one who I just got the notice. I did get the notice. They were the highest level tier. They moved directly across from me. So I had to have conversations in my house with people, right, and my kids. But then also there's a daycare literally 2 doors down. And I was like, well, I thought they can't move close to daycares. Well, daycares is on the list. It's schools. So I was like, interesting, right? So I think there has to be some sort of balance, and this committee will bring together all of the people who are a part of that community. So providers, community members, and people who have been impacted to be a part of this conversation on this committee to talk about how we as a city can respond to that in a very different way that balances both, because I get both sides in regards to integrating people back into the community and also just being a regular concerned citizen. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
I'm certainly, I appreciate Councilwoman Darby for bringing this to the floor and council. I've too have had a lot of conversations with community members about this issue. We have quite a few, not only single family homes that have recent offenders, but we do have halfway houses as well on the west side. And there seems to be a high rate that we have here on the west side. And it is a hard subject because, again, as someone who advocates for justice, it is, we need to be fair and reintegrate society, those individuals, but we also need to protect our neighbors as well. I think part of the issue is, and this is the intergovernmental hat, we probably will need to have the state at the table because unfortunately, Department of Corrections is not really talk to city council in terms of, they work at the state level. So there's some way, I almost think this would need to be intergovernmental subcommittee, but I leave that to the sponsor in terms of the future, but you can definitely add me as a co-sponsor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Willauer.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you. I would like to thank Councilwoman Darby for bringing this up. There are many residents in the West Side who've talked about this issue, and also people who have experienced living in house. There's a wide range of quality among programs that are offered in residential homes in the city of Wilmington, and the regulation is hard to understand. And I get calls from people about properties where they don't know under what program it's operating. There's just very little information or regulation, both for neighbors, but also for the people who are participating in these programs. So I think your idea of putting together a subcommittee is a great one. And the question I had to ask Councilwoman Darby is there any requirements that you were thinking of that people who are impacted be part? I know that you're excluding, city officials, but how are you planning to make sure the voices of people who are impacted, both as residents but also as neighbors, are included in the subcommittee?
Yes, they will be included in the subcommittee. So the makeup will be 9 members to the subcommittee. It would compose of Wilmington residents who had demonstrated an interest and or expertise in reintegration and or zoning. And they're also will make sure that there's also representation on both ends as providers and people who are impacted and have related background. So I think that will all be a part of selecting who's on that committee.
Council President, I just had one follow-up.
Yes, Councilmember Willauer.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying, Councilwoman Darby. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, I would like to acknowledge that Council Members Field, Harley, and McCoy asked to be excused. Thank you. Councilmember Darby.
Yes, we can do the vote.
All right, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman Owens?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
No.
Councilwoman Willauer?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes.
Councilman Spadola?
Yes.
President Congo?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 nay, and 4 absent.
Declared adopted.
Mr. President, I actually want to hold this next resolution.
All right. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, I have a resolution to present. One second.
Resolution 25-043, agenda number 0080, whereas the Wilmington City Council 2022-2025 strategic plan seeks to foster a stabilized Wilmington, as well as a transparent
I
and
move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes. So in my research of land banks, as I went on my quest, once I realized that there were issues and there needed to be some sort of accountability, one of the things that I researched, I reached out to land banks of similar cities of similar size who have land banks, and I talked to them about some of their operations. I did some research. I read about them, and one of the things that they required is that that there's public hearings for really large transfers or sales of properties, right? So that city council is aware of it. So there's other land banks that have a lot of accountability measures in place. So I introduced a resolution that said for one of the properties that you transferred, Gibraltar in particular, you have to have a public hearing. And in that public hearing, there were things that we have sent the email. That resolution passed. The majority of city council was like, okay, yes, let's do that, right? And then a letter went out to the land bank on April 29th after city council obligated the land bank to hold a public hearing about this transfer. And in that, we asked for them. I'm looking at the emails that I have here. But in that, we had asked for them to hold a public hearing and for them to provide certain information. And the public hearing, it did not happen. What they did was they have a community meeting already over in the 8th district somewhere. I can't remember the name of the civic, and decided to just say, hey, we're going to do some sort of presentation by the former mayor, Michael, and he's going to talk about and give an update on Gibraltar. So it did not hit the points of the public hearing that we clearly outlined in the email that we had sent to them. It did not meet the criteria of a public hearing. They thought that they could be slick and just say, hey, we're just going to have it at the next community meeting, and that's going to count as our public hearing. No, they have to be transparent. They have to be held accountable for their actions. And one thing I realized that other land banks did, they made sure they tracked the land bank's violations by doing resolutions. So every single time I make a request to the land bank and they do not do it, it will become a resolution. And I will put it on record. If city council supports it or not, for the record, I will always do a violation against the land bank or any entity in the city if I have to, but specifically the land bank will get one every single time we request something from them and they do not provide it, right? There has to be forms of accountability. There has to be public record of what this land bank is doing. So this provides public record that the land bank, that we asked them to have a public hearing about the Gibraltar transfer. We asked for specific information and they did not do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. See no hands raised. Clerk, please call the roll.
Before I call the roll, I just want to make a correction. This is resolution 25-042.
Thank you.
What's this one for?
That's the same one, 00.
I was talking about the right one?
Yep, you're right.
Oh, okay.
I stated the wrong number.
All right.
So I just wanted to make the correction. Councilman Owens.
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby.
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Present.
Councilwoman Willauer.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
No.
Councilwoman Bracy.
No.
Councilwoman Cabrera.
No.
Councilman Spadola.
No.
President Congo.
Yes.
4 yeas, 4 nays, 1 present, and 4 absent.
Declare defeated.
Mr. President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 25-043, agenda number 0081. Whereas Wilmington City Council 2022
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, so this is another violation. So every single time there's a request made to the land bank and they do not follow through, I, as a city council member, will hold the land bank accountable through my legislative process. So this is a resolution. So the land bank for almost a year at this point did not have a list of their properties on their website. We asked. We had a meeting with the land bank and a committee hearing. I guess they felt the pressure and decided to post this half-done list of properties onto the website. On April 29th, 2025, I sent an official letter from myself to the land bank, Bud Frill, Mr. Gesner, and Mr. Sacamanda, asking them for clear directives regarding the operations and transparency of the land bank, asking for them to update the website to include detailed information on all properties. If you look on the website, a lot of them say reserve, reserve, reserve. I asked for them to update it so the community is very clear on the names of the individuals, organizations, or developer for whom the property is reserved. I asked for the reason or justification for the reservation of this property. I asked for the current status of any pending agreements, development plans, or disposition process related to each property. I also asked for them to write a clear written explanation of the internal process for assigning a reserve status to a property, which included who has the authority to make such a designation, must be approved. I told them it must be provided within city council. They did not provide that. I also asked for them until this is explained, they should not have any more property listed as reserved until they explain this process. I also asked for, this letter is not it, this email that was printed out, but I asked for those several things about the reserve status, because I think that it's very important that we're not halfway doing things. The list looks a hot mess. It doesn't even make sense. And I think it's important that we are presenting in a very professional way to our community, because our community deserves it. We're presenting in a way that is transparent. We're presenting in a way that holds the land bank accountable. So every single time, and I'm going to make more requests, I make a request to the land bank and they don't fulfill it, it will go on public record in my legislative power to hold them accountable, because my community did not deserve what they have up there, that halfway list that they have that doesn't make any sense, and it shows that they're giving it to a lot of organizations. And people are not really able to understand what property is available. How much is the property? A while ago, before the land bank, when I was looking, I was looking for housing. I went on the land bank. I was able to see pictures. I was able to see the cost that it cost. I was able to figure those things out. Literally, this is a PDF list that they put online. Don't make sense. It looks a hot mess, and they just have to do better, and the community deserves better than what the land bank is giving y'all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Willauer.
Councilmember Darby, I just want to thank you for sharing with the council, your council colleagues and the public about your request for information, and also making it part of the public record, because I think that we need to know all of these details in order to be able to able to really fully understand how the land bank is operating. So I just want to say I really appreciate your efforts to ask for information, give the land bank a chance to provide that information, and then also let us know when you haven't received it, because that's all information that helps me understand the problems that are the land bank and what's needed to resolve it.
Seeing no other hands raised, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman Owens?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes.
Councilwoman Willauer?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
No.
Councilwoman Bracy?
No.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
No.
Councilman Spadola?
No.
President Congo?
Yes.
5 yeas, 4 nays, and 4 absent.
Declared adopted.
Council President, may I be excused?
Yes, you may be excused. Thank you. Oliver? Councilmember Oliver?
Sorry about that. Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 25-044, agenda number 0082. Whereas the Wilmington City Council 2022 to 2025 strategic plan prioritizes a stabilized Wilmington, which includes efforts to strengthen neighborhoods, increase housing opportunities, and reduce vacant properties. And whereas a significant number of commercial properties within the city remain vacant and underutilized, which presents an opportunity to increase housing stock, revitalize neighborhoods, and optimize existing infrastructure. And whereas
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and finally adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea and nay vote on the question.
Yes, Mr. President. This is a resolution in alignment with the Wilmington City Council's 2022-2025 strategic plan, which prioritizes stabilizing Wilmington. The resolution urges the administration and relevant city departments to work collaboratively to conduct a feasible study evaluating potential for converting a vacant, underutilized commercial property into affordable housing, which would be apartments. Everybody knows housing is expensive and everybody can't afford the housing. So in Philly, they have taken a lot of empty buildings that were empty because of COVID and turned them into affordable apartments. So that's what I'm looking for with this resolution. Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson?
I would like to be added as co-sponsor. I know Councilwoman Oliver and I have even talked to developers about this and Bob Ware in the city. This is urgent. I know probably between her district and my district, we probably have the most vacant commercial properties in this whole city. And we need to get them up in line and use. Anywhere knows the corridors on the west side, there's vacant property after vacant property that's sitting there. And they are eyesores. I get emails about them almost every single day. And, we need to find some use, and affordable housing is the way to use it rather than a vacant 7-Eleven or other property sitting there.
Thank you. Councilmember Cabrera?
Yes, I also am in agreement. We have seen many other cities turn their vacant buildings into housing. In Atlanta, at one of the conferences, I was able to tour one of those projects with the mayor and folks there to see what they were doing to address their issue of affordable housing. So we got to, keep thinking outside of the box on what we can do to provide affordability that makes common sense for our residents and increase housing, since the housing supply is still at a low, and building new housing obviously takes time. So yes, I'm in support of this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, we turn back to the sponsor.
Yeah, no, that's all. You can call for the vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman Owens?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes.
Councilwoman Willauer?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes.
That would be all, Mr. President. Thank you.
8 yeas and 5 absent.
Declared adopted. Councilmember Bracy.
Mr. President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 25-045, agenda number 0083. Whereas pursuant to section 2-363 of the City Code, City Council deemed it necessary and proper to specify the requirements for review and approval of city-sponsored grant applications and proposals, including...
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second this resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Mr. President, this resolution is being just reading wrong. Authorizes Department of Parks and Recreation's grant application to the state of Delaware, Department of Education in the amount of $536,715.10. This is funds that would be used to support our city's summer 2025 food service program, and there's no local match needed for this.
All right, thank you. Seeing no hands raised, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman Owens?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
Councilwoman Willauer?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes.
President Congo?
Yes.
8 yeas and 5 absent.
Declared adopted.
Mr. President, I have another resolution to present.
Resolution 25-046, agenda number 0084, whereas pursuant to City Charter Section 8-204, every department board...
This resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second the resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Mr. President, this resolution authorizes the Department of Parks and Rec to accept a gift of $1,000 from the Gatorade Delaware Girls Basketball Player of the Year to support our programming at Wilmington Hicks Anderson Community Center.
Councilmember Owens.
Yes. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor for this. Again, I just want to give a shout out to Gigi Banks, proud resident of the 1st District, and Gatorade Player of the Year, Girls Basketball Player of the Year, for giving back to her city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. I know she's doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Willauer.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor too. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman Owens?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes.
Councilwoman Willauer?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes.
And President Congo?
Yes.
8 yeas and 5 absent.
Declared adopted. All right, this time we will move to petitions and communications, starting with Councilmember Owens.
Yes. First off, for all seniors out there, senior fan program is going on right now. And you can call 311 constituent service to sign up, or you can come in and get a fan with them as long as you did not get a fan last year and as long as you're over 65 years old. Also, on Tuesday, in memory of our late colleague and community leader, Rashima Ditson, Play Streets is kicking off in the 1st District on July 8th at Harlan Elementary. Come out, have fun with us. I want to give a shout out to Councilwoman Bracy for leading the effort on this, and I look forward to having fun with the community. The only other thing I have is happy 4th of July to everyone. Please stay hydrated. Please stay cool in this heat, and that's all I got for y'all tonight.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Mr. President.
I'm sorry. Excuse me 1 second. Councilmember Darby.
Yes, I have no communication for tonight.
All right, Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, Mr. President. I would like to invite everybody to the 3rd District, which is Rodney Square now. That would be Saturday for the big 4th of July event. They did want me to share they weren't doing firecrackers this year. They're saving a big firecracker exhibit for next year for the 250 celebration. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people come out this Saturday and be safe with the firecrackers this year because they can be dangerous. That would be all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Willauer.
Nothing tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
No items tonight, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bracy.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember
Mr.
Cabrera.
President, I forgot to say something. I'll wait till you finish.
Councilmember Cabrera.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like.
Went out.
Councilmember Cabrera.
She dropped off, actually.
Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to give you and your entire family my condolences from the entire Oliver family on Aunt Judy, and you are in my prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Councilmember Cabrera back on? No. Okay. I just want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. As always, we want to encourage you to come and be a part of our meetings every 1st and 3rd Thursdays. We will have another meeting next Thursday because of our upcoming summer break. You're also always welcome to come to our council meetings and be a part of any discussions and also give public comment. And if you need anything from any of us on City Council, please call us at 302-576-2140. With that, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any adjourned? Thank you, everyone. Take care.